So you're spending a ton of money on ads to tell people about your business. Are they actually the people that are going to pay for your product at the end of the day? And the last thing you want to be doing is spending cash for no real return. If you don't know where the great customers are coming from, you're going to need to find out real quick. So I've put together 3 different levels that you can use to find out where your customers are coming from, because we all know that if you use the right approach, you're actually going to be able to target the top 20% of the customers, or the cream, as they say, that bring in 80% of the revenue. We all know how that works, the 80-20 rule. All right, so you're busy running ads, right? We got our ads going. We got all these little things spending up big dollars right here. The question is, are we actually just wasting money? Not all leads are equal. Ads bringing leads, and on the surface, it looks like everything's working. We're getting those users in, we're getting those customers, we're getting those phone calls, but realistically, not all leads are equal. If you don't know which ads are producing the quality conversions, right? So what we would consider them here are the kings. These are the ones that are bringing in the dollars. We don't want the plebs. We don't really want the plebs down here, little beggars that are just sitting here. So please, sir, feed me. We don't want these guys. We want these guys. So we need to do that. And using ads, it can give us either one of these, depending on our messaging. And we need to figure out which ads are the right ones and which ones are the wrong ones. If you're like us, we were spending a heap of money, we're getting a whole bunch of conversions, but unfortunately, they weren't the best ones. We think just naively that by getting conversions or leads, we are winning, we're doing the right thing, but realistically, that's not quite right. So we need to figure out what ads are bringing in the right conversions, right? So which ads do we need to make more of right here? So realistically, just quickly, what is a conversion? Just so that you're all speaking the same language. It could be any action that you consider a sale, I guess, in your business. For us, in our system, it's a subscription, or you subscribe, or I guess create a new account. Could be a new account. It could be a payment. So you've actually put down money. Payment could be a conversion event. You could be doing a lead thing. It could be collecting an email. Depends on your business, right? So any of these things could be considered a conversion when using meta ads or any kind of thing like that, right? So for us, it's a user sign up, I guess. So realistically, it's a sign up here is also something. So a new account, right? Which I set up there. From there, once you know what the conversion event is, we can start having a look further into that. So in order to figure out, we need to have real clarity on which ads are bringing in the right users in our case, or in your case, it could be the right customer. It could, that come to your service, the ones that want to spend, not the ones that are, worried about spending a couple of dollars, because in the end of the day, they're just going to create a lot of headache and really not drive your business any forward. We saw this in our last business, right? We had customers that were whales. You would consider big whales, right? Look, Moby Dick over here with the little whale. And then you have the tiny little fish, right? You have to catch a lot of these. What we want to be doing is we want to be whale hunting. There's an angry whale over here. But we want to be finding lots of these guys. So we need to figure out, how do we get more of those? And that's how we're going to have to work this backwards. Like, what was the journey that they took to get here? And then how do we then go and take a target right here, Moby Dick on him? And that's where we want to get. And we saw in our last business how much pain small customers can do. They don't want to spend, spending adverse. The big whales just want to get the job done. They have things to do. They just want to pay for the solution and move on with their life. So that's what we're looking for here. There are 3 levels to this on how you can actually do attribution tracking. Basic, mid, and then kind of more advanced if you have the tools there. This is for everyone. Everyone can get something out of this video. So a real conversion isn't just a sign up. It's also someone who then subscribes, in our instance, subscribes, pays, and sticks around for a long time, because you want to have that LTV, or the lifetime value of a customer, super high. So we're trying to find those people. And that's why we need clarity. And it starts with the 3 levels of tracking from basic to advanced, like I just said. Level 1. All right, let's talk about level 1. This is the basic one. I've already been called out for my poor handwriting, so please excuse me. Thanks to my team. The first step to clarity, right? So don't overcomplicate this. Just ask the question. This is for everyone. This is for a brick and mortar, right? So you got your little shop front here. Here's your customer, and then here's you, right? And then all you're going to say is, hey, and then how'd you find us? So realistically, you want to just ask the question. This is the first step. So I sat down with an expert who manages a business that spends over 6 figures in meta ad spend alone, which is crazy good. I mean, that's a lot of money, but it really helps convert. And this is where they begin, right? This is the first step, and a very good suggestion here. From here, it's very shocking how few businesses actually ask, where did you first hear about us? And then what brought you here today? So these 2 simple questions. So where did you first hear about us is going to trigger probably an ad or something they saw or a referral. This is really good information to get. And then what brought you here today? I really liked what the expert said here for us was like, what actually triggered you to come today? So what was the tipping point? What was that final kind of messaging that got you into the door? And without this, you're really blind to any real attribution. You're just guessing. Just ask that question. It's very simple, and then it really will give you a lot of insight, because what that will do is will tell you where you should invest more. You will be able to collect that data and say, okay, well, they heard us from Google, or they heard us from Facebook, or they heard us from referrals. Let's go harder into that. So how can you do this really simply? When someone calls your business, that could be one of the first things you train your team to do. Pick it up, ask that. Where did you first hear about us? And then do you remember what brought you here today? Kind of at the end of the conversation, probably you can ask that when you're winding up. Just, oh, hey, just quickly, just wanted to ask you this question. Simple phone calls will give you context, no dashboard can. And then you pair it with digital data, right? So what ad did they click? What does Meta think is converting? And are you tracking the right events like subscriptions and not just signups? Those kind of things come a little bit later, but you can use this data and you literally just chuck it into a spreadsheet, save it somewhere. This is at the basic level. Everyone can do this step. So then what we're going to do is we are going to go up. We're going to go to level 2 here now. So level 2. So we don't want to just stop there. It depends on your business, obviously, but we don't want to get that. What we want to do now is once they actually make a purchase, right? So when we first got them, they came in through the door. That was like a lead. So we want to ask them how they got there. Level 2 is when they've actually handed over the cash. Instead of asking the question again, what we can now do is we can do a post-purchase survey. This is really important. This can ask similar questions, but you can go into a little bit more depth. What I was surprised was the guy that we spoke to in the e-com was telling us how many people actually completed these. And in the statistics, I'm going to be making this number up, but from what I remember, it was like roughly 60%-ish were filling in their post-purchase survey, right? So as soon as you've purchased it, it would ask a survey. And people were filling it in, which is surprising. You wouldn't think the numbers would be so high, but they get a lot of data from that. This is a really easy way. So what we're going to do in level 2 is we're going to do post-purchase survey, right? This can be automated very easily. There's a lot of tools that you can do this. So can be auto, right? And you can there's lots of tools online that can do this for you. Once you have that set up, you just kind of like set it, forget, and then just collect that information. Very powerful. Highly recommend the level 2 as you're going. So right, lead, call, answer, chat. Easy, no problem. Level 2, post survey. If it is a bigger business where you are doing deals, this is where you should be doing a post-purchase survey anyway. Like if you're doing high-ticket things, you really want to say like, thank you so much for signing up. Here's the next steps. Just wanted to ask you some questions like, really like working with you. How did you find us? What could we improve? What didn't you like? What made you not want to buy? These are the kind of questions that are really interesting. Like, was there anything that made you not want to purchase from us? You can use that information to then fix your funnels so that you actually can do better deals. Now, we get to level 3. This is where all the big boys play in, right? So especially in software companies, this is going to take a little bit more implementation. You need a con of this is that it's harder to do, right? So it's harder. Like you need to have some technical skills here. It's technical, but realistically, you can get someone to do this in your business. A lot of e-commerce things like Shopify, all that kind of have it built in. So it's not that hard. You just need to put a little bit of time in, but it's very worth the time. So what is this? This is our king of tracking, I reckon, is the UTM. Now that has a weird name and I can't remember what it was. Let me have a quick look. A UTM is an urchin tracking module. Not that it matters, but what it does. What does a UTM do? A UTM actually helps us. You may have seen them, right? So you have a query string and you have a UTM parameter in there and it'll be like UTM campaign. And what these things do for us is it tells us where the click came from. So websites pass these around to kind of give context to where something happened. So what we do in our ads is we have UTM parameters. So we would say this was the creative that driven, this was the campaign, this was the ad set. And then you pass that information through to your platform. So it could be Shopify, it could be your software system, and then you store that information, right? So this is really important. So without doing this, in 3 months' time, you're going to have no idea which campaigns brought that user in. It becomes a black box. We do not want this. We want to be able to know exactly where that person came from because it does take time, right? Like sales don't just happen instantly. That's very rare. Most people get educated over a long period of time and then make the decision to buy. And then once we have them, we also want to track how they spend over time. You may find customers, especially in like e-commerce, buy once and then move on with their life. But you might find customers that come in, buy, and then constantly buy. You want to identify those and you want to figure out the journey, right? And UTM are going to really help you here. So what we do inside of Clipflow is we store the campaign, because we store the ad set, we store the creative. We also store the landing page. Realistically, this is really important because it's going to help you see which ad in conjunction with landing page created that event, which actually tipped the user over to actually buying them. Now, the cool thing about this is we can look back and we can reverse engineer. So in 3 months' time, we can go 3 months down the road. We can have a look and say, okay, who are our top 20% of customers? What do they look like? Who's spending the most money? Who are the ones that we enjoy working with? Whatever it may be, whatever your metrics are. But realistically for us, it's going to be like spend, it's going to be usage. How are they using this platform? All of that kind of stuff. Because these are like things to us, like have they invited their team? Whatever your activation metrics are in your business, these are the things you're going to want to focus on. Now, from there, we're going to go, okay, these are our top 20%. What do they have in common? Are they a certain size of business? Did they have a certain pain point? Like, because this is, in the end of the day, you want to sell the people with specific pain points. You really want to niche down. You want to sell them the vacation, right? We want to sell them the solution. What does that look like? So we want to identify those top 20% customers. We then want to figure out backwards and work backwards from here. Because we've stored the UTMs, we can do that now. We can aggregate them based on that. Was there any overlap on landing page? Which landing page drove the most conversions? Which ad drove the most conversions? So that could be on the creative side. It could be on the messaging side. It could be the video. Once you have that information, we can then use that. So we can use the info to then iterate, right? And what does iterate mean? Iterate means make more of that. So whatever that was, how do we make more of it? So we can drop out. You can also, what you can also do is find the bottom 80% and figure out you don't want to do anymore. So we want to go, okay, well, the bottom 80% clicked on this ad. Well, let's make sure we don't ever make ads like that, because it could be talking to the wrong avatar. We could be dragging beginners in. We could be dragging people at the beginning of their business that we don't really want to work with because they don't bring in money. You may have a business that wants that, and that's great. So then you could flip it. But realistically, for bigger business that want to make more revenue, you want to have people that can spend more. I love the saying, which is sell to the rich. You know why? Because it's way easier. Rich people just want their problem solved, and then they'll pay money for it. And usually there's no limit. It's like, get rid of this problem and it'll happen. So what you can do here is you can work backwards. You can figure out the ads that are working, and then you can go and make more of those ads. You can then go and do this, but without having attribution, we cannot. We are walking around in the dark. So we want to make sure that we are doing this. So with UTMs, you can look back and identify that your highest quality customers had in common, straight up. And that's how we learned organic leads weren't just free, they were also high quality. This is super key. So for us, we're finding that organic content drives very strong leads. Right? The leads that come through organic, you've already built up brand trust. They seem to like the product more, and they generally tend to be the better customer rather than ads. Like I did a video on this where Facebook would send us 70 to 100 leads, which would just spam emails. Those are not what we want. So we don't want those ads to run. We don't want them to run in those places. So we go and reverse engineer that. And we could figure that out because of UTM. If we weren't tracking that and we were just seeing signups, we'd be like, where did they come from? So you literally would have no idea. So by having these things in place, you filter out the wrong people and you double down on the right ones. So to sum it all up, there's a bit of ranting in there, but to sum it all up, without knowing where your customer's coming from, it's very difficult to find more of them. So if we don't know where someone comes from, we can't go there and find more of them. That's just point one. And how are you going to find more of your best customers if you don't actually know where they come from or how you got them in the first place? That's super key. And using the right tools and approaches is going to allow you to find the top 20% who are going to bring in 80% of your revenue. This is that 80-20 rule. It pretty much applies to life in general. Like it's very hard to disprove this. Like 20% of your customers bring 80% of your revenue. The rest of them, get rid of them, push your prices up, get rid of the others so you can keep growing your business. And using any of these levels are actually going to help you along the journey to finding the right customers. So regardless of what stage you are in your business and how much technical knowledge you have, you can implement one of these strategies. And I reckon this is going to help you really pinpoint your ideal customers so that you can work with more of them and you can double down and make sure that your marketing spending is going in the right place. Before I go, make sure to subscribe to our channel if you like these kind of videos, and also let us know down in the comments, what other ways are you using or attributing your marketing to your clients? We'd love to hear if there's any others that I've actually missed. So if you've made it this far, make sure you do that down below. Check out Clipflow if you want to make content at scale. This is what we do, and we have built a business before and we're doing it again. So come along for the journey. With all that said and done, we'll catch you on the next one, guys. Hope you enjoy.